Ja, tak skal I have, og hvor er det dejligt at være her til landsmødet efter et nej i folkeafstemningen den 3. december, og i en situation, hvor Storbritannien skal stemme om EU-medlemskabet den 23. juni i år. Det her er en drømmesituation for folkebevægelsen mod EU. Vores mål er, at Danmark kommer ud af EU. Vi skal frigøre Danmark fra den europæiske union, og vi står faktisk nu med endnu en sejr i en folkeafstemning, en voksende folkebevægelse og et Storbritannien, der skal stemme om EU. Storbritannien fik den her folkeafstemning efter hårdt slid. Det er ikke sådan, at Cameron tænkte, hvor er det dejligt, nu skal vi stemme om EU. Nej, der blev dannet en forening, People's Pledge. People's Pledge kæmpede i lang tid hårdt for at der skulle laves en britisk folkeafstemning. Systematisk gik man til værk, krævede et svar fra de forskellige kandidater til det britiske underhus, ville de være med til at støtte en folkeafstemning. Før det seneste britiske valg, der blev alle kandidater konfronteret med spørgsmålet, om de gik ind for en folkeafstemning. Modtageren af dette års Internationale pris, han var aktiv i kampagnen for at sikre den folkeafstemning, som nu kommer. Modtageren af årets Internationale pris var allerede aktiv i 1975, da Storbritannien holdt deres første folkeafstemning om EU-medlemskabet. Briterne holdt nemlig deres afstemning efter de var kommet ind. Det var lidt af en svinestreg, men trods alt holdt man en folkeafstemning. Der var vores modtager af prisen allerede aktiv. Han var faktisk formand for den nej-kampagne, der var i Luton. Luton er en by, hvor der bor ca. 200.000 borgere. Der var han formand for nej-kampagnen i 1975. Modtageren af vores Internationale pris, han er aktiv i organiseringen af den tværpolitiske kampagne for en udmeldelse af EU nu. Han er samtidig central i den organisation, der er Labour-folk. Labour Leave hedder organisationen, der kæmper for at få Storbritannien ud af EU. Han er en af 2 formænd i Labour Leave. Han har i årtier været aktiv i fagbevægelsen i Storbritannien. Han elsker Europa. Han elsker Europa. Men han er ikke bange for at rette folk, når de blander termen EU sammen med Europa. EU er ikke Europa. Han mener, at EU er til skade for demokratiet og til skade for velfærden. Han har siden 2007 været medlem af det britiske parlaments Europaudvalg. Lad os sige tillykke til Kelvin Hopkins, årets modtager af vores Internationale pris.
Well, good afternoon. Jeg skal sige indskud. Jeg kan ikke snakke dansk. So I must speak in English, but it's wonderful to be here, and I'm honoured to be invited and to receive the award of the Clogs. It's a very special day for me. And I shall remember it, and my family and friends will be very impressed, I know, about my award. But I have, as Leva said, I'm a lover of Europe. I'm a true Europhile, from J.S. Bach to Velasquez to French literature to Italian wine, and in particular Scandinavia, because I've worked in Sweden as a student many years ago, and I've been to all the Scandinavian countries a number of times, and I even speak a few words. Jag kan tala lite svenska. But that was, you know, don't press me too hard because I can't make a long speech in Swedish, but I can say a few words. But I hope my English is understood by you anyway. But it's a great privilege and pleasure to be here to share with you our opposition to the European Union, in spite of our love of Europe. In fact, because of our love of Europe, I think we are opposed to the European Union, because the European Union is not good for Europe. You only have to look at what's happened to Greece in recent times to know that the European Union is not benign, and we would do much better to be independent countries working in a friendly way together for mutual benefit, rather than being governed by an unaccountable bureaucracy in Brussels, which I think is what we are concerned about. But I come from the left of the Labour Party, but I know that the Eurosceptic movement, the opposition to the European Union, stretches right across the political spectrum. And in Britain we have people right from UKIP to the Labour left and beyond, who all are concerned to make sure we become independent again and rebuild our democracy outside the European Union. And what we want, of course, is to other countries to follow, and in particular Denmark, because we know that Denmark is, would like us, want to be an independent democratic country, free to choose the laws by which it is governed itself, and not have laws imposed upon it by the Brussels bureaucracy. So that is where we are. In Britain, as you know, we have a referendum. We fought hard to get a referendum. It's interesting that my party, the Labour Party, which in its history was very strongly Eurosceptic, was taken over by Euro enthusiasts in the 1980s. And just before the last election, it was the leadership decided to oppose the referendum, which lost us several parliamentary seats. A calculation has been made that we lost 8 parliamentary seats as a result of refusing to support a referendum. 8 seats, if we'd won those 8 seats, the Conservatives would not have had an overall majority, and it would have changed the psychology of the present government. So I think it was a very significant result. And indeed, I was asked by a number of people in the Labour Party, senior people in the Labour Party, from the front bench, who were supporters of the EU, who were saying we must support the referendum. It would be mad to go into the election opposing a referendum. I said, well, I agree, but being on the left, I don't have so much influence as you. Why don't you tell the leaders? And I think some of them did try, but they didn't succeed. Immediately, almost the day after the election, our leaders just said, oh, well, we'll support a referendum. If they'd said that beforehand, we might have been in a different situation now. But it's, we can't do anything about that at this stage. But at least we've won the argument for a referendum, that people want the right to choose. Since then, of course, we've had parties being divided. The Conservative Party really is very seriously divided. But the Labour Party is also divided. And it was interesting that Alan Johnson, who's a very impressive politician, former Home Secretary in our party, he said a few weeks ago that the Labour Party is united in supporting the European Union and wanting an in vote. Well, it's interesting that I wrote a pamphlet, a modest pamphlet, suggesting that the European Union was not a benign organisation for us. It's called The European Union, A View from the Left. And some of my friends thought it was worth publishing, so we published it and printed 500 copies. And they just went very quickly, and then we printed more. It's now in its 6th printing. We've got rid of 55,000 copies of this to Labour Party members. And we've still got 2 months to go, and they can't keep up with the orders. But there are other pamphlets going out to Labour Party organisations and trade unions all over Britain. There's also a trade unions against the EU. Not a large group, any more than the Labour League is a large group, but it is certainly being very active. And I was delighted to speak with my very good friend Helle Hagenau, who's with us today from Norway. We spoke on a platform at the TUC Congress in Brighton some 6 months ago together. This is the trade unions against the EU, no to TTIP, no to TTIP, no to EU rail privatisation, which is going to force everybody to privatise their railways, which we profoundly oppose. The railways in Britain have been made a complete mess by privatisation, and now the whole scheme is going to be inflicted on all the countries of the European Union, which I think is mad. It's going to have an experiment which doesn't work, and then make sure everybody else does the same experiment. But there we are. I think we're winning the argument, and we are hoping to win the vote. we've had a tremendous boost this week because there's a politician in Britain called Boris Johnson, about whom you may have heard, who has come out this week strongly in favour of leaving the European Union. Now, Boris, I have to say, is not a man of the left. But nevertheless, he's on our side. And we'll get friends wherever they come from. And he is very influential, and I think he's going to make a real difference to the vote. Because it's not just Conservatives that will vote to leave because of Boris Johnson. I think other people will feel more confident, because there's been a scare campaign, you know. The sky will fall in, they will be living a life of eternal darkness, you know, all sorts of frightening tactics have been used, and they're just going completely over the top, as we say, and it's just not true. We've been arguing that we will actually be better off out. In initial terms, of course, very easily. We are massive net contributors to the EU budget. So just from the budget alone, we'd be £10 billion better off, but we don't want to look at it in those nationalistic terms. I think the point I make in my pamphlets, and I've said many before, is that it's not just anti-socialist, it's anti-democratic, and it doesn't work economically. The fact that the economy of the European Union has been languishing for some time now, the southern European countries in particular have really been suffering because of the iron grip of the euro. Very simply, I think all the countries of Europe should have their own currencies, like the very sensible Danes with their currency, and the Swedes and the Norwegians and the British. We've kept our currencies, and one or two other countries that are now inside the euro would wish they did have their own currencies back. But when you have your own currency, you can adjust it to an appropriate parity, so you can trade sensibly. You can choose your own interest rates to suit your own economy. And if we can all do that and all make our economies grow together, we're all better off. So economically, the EU just does not work. And it's been a bad idea from the start. I think, you know, we are paving the way towards a more, not just a more democratic Europe, but a Europe that works for working people and for its peoples as well. I'm looking forward to us voting to leave the European Union, the Danes to follow us, and others indeed to follow, and a true renaissance of democracy right across Europe. Thank you very much indeed.